Leon S. Kennedy, the famed protagonist of Resident Evil, one of the most greatest showcasings of that dog in him, peak human, resilient, skilled, and proficient case of heroes of fiction, versus Kyle Crane, the protagonist of Dying Light 1, ex-mercenary to runner, vigilante, hero, and goated survivor who's went through all the following efforts of trials, sacrifices, and unfortunate case of dilemma when it comes down to trying to survive in the Haran virus across the slums, across Sector Zero, and even the case of the countryside. My man used to work for the GRE, Global Relief Effort, a corrupt case of organization trying to profit off of the different disasters and unfortunate travesties going on in the world. And with that being said, he would change from coming into Iran, growing with sympathy, compassion, and seeing things in a better light now that he actually understands what people are going through, seeing the survivors, seeing the way of life. He was able to actually form a better person sense from it, especially because in truth, Crane was never truly a bad man. He just unfortunately worked for the wrong guys. But besides, the talk of the characters, these are two characters that I've heard be debated, talked, and compared when it comes down to a hypothetical versus battle or character analysis. Both having great expertise and record of great experience in the past fighting and or in the case of being trained to be top tier killers, as well being people that weren't really in the mood to be doing the greatest sense of heroic, scandalous type of activity, but were formed into better people and arguably stronger because of it. As well with this the fact that because of the fact I've actually questioned this to my friend groups and other people, and it's been a back and forth related topic, so I wanted to go ahead and do a in-depth video basically putting my 2 cents in for it. I hope you guys will enjoy. Let's go and get it on. How I'm going to be doing this is going to be between 3 to 4 sets. First one is going to be a base matchup that's between Leon Kennedy and this man Crane, talking over their AP, skill, experience, all type of stuff. 2 is going to be the case of a prep time match with their different arsenal, capabilities, and things like that. The third is going to be a hypothetical matchup between the case of the sentient volatile version of Crane versus a different weaponry and a rack of all trades versatility of Leon that he's been able to use against opponents stronger, faster, and greater than him to give him an advantage, and then giving him stuff in store to face Crane that comes from this verse, which considerably can be a hypothetical what if mashup if Leon Kennedy had to face Crane if he went ape shit as a sentient volatile. You heard? Time to go ahead and get into this. When it comes down to Leon and what his accolades are, Leon from a young age is already revered and enamored for being one of the most skilled, resilient, and proficient marksmen as a gunman to, policeman when it came down to his job in the matter of service. When it comes down to skill regiment, he has mastered 6 martial arts shown on screen, and like John Wick, who he has been compared to, has the credit of being a master of guns or some dead shot to bullseye shit, where he's basically a gun fooist, where he's over here doing the most ridiculously dynamic, greater showings of skill when it comes down to gunplay. With his gunplay allowing him to be able to do the most adaptive, resilient things, again, showcasing great courage and steel of heart. My man has been able to dominate different fields of expertise that he does not actually know about, showcasing his adaptability, his intelligence, and the fact that he can adapt to any gun or situation. He has unparalleled training. He has no limits. He scales to Chris Redfield, who is one of the most skilled in the verse, and has skill and different talks of his scaling to be one of the most high-tier former martial artists and marksmen in fiction, and Leon scaled to him by fighting him in Resident Evil 6. Scaling to the Unk of Resident Evil is pretty high up. Now when it comes down to AP, he's been able to scale multiple times in good deal of wall level, banging out with very tough Big Brock zombies, being able to stand toe-to-toe with them in the greatest regards. He's been able to fight and outscale creatures that have scaling, like with Chris Redfield, who's able to take punches from, that gets consistent, who's able to punch and or collapse a boulder, meaning that they will be scaling from the most highest sense of wall level to small building level in general. But because of the fact that he was able to kick a dude so hard he cracked their neck, this would also give, again, consistent low end of that greater scaling. But then the higher end things is him taking blows from bio-re-engineered beings that are able to crater walls, crack open different metal doors, being able to, you know, crater things around them in the matter of the ground, rumble the earth, causing kinetic waves and shock waves to the case of things. He's been slapped around back to back between different things, facing beings that have statements that are able to, you know, do the boulder scaling pretty consistently, but have higher regiments and resolve from desecrating these different things and cratering the ground, like I talked about before, as a cracking of, you know, these different hollow points of either walls of steel or even arguably stone, will be consistently getting them in a higher gratitude of not just, again, hypothetically, a low end multi-street level wall level scaling, but reasonably getting Leon Kennedy from small building to reasonably small building plus in the matter of scaling in general, just off of his AP alone. When it comes down to speed, because of the fact that Leon has been able to scale decently to people that have the capability to scale to others that have been shown to be bullet timers, faster than the eye can see, or simply put, between the matter of subsonic to being supersonic level in speed, you would have general case of, you know, bullet timing, Assassin's Creed level like proficiency in scaling, where he's able to be a deliberate case of bullet timer and quick A means of peak speed of a human, regardless if you are superhuman or not. So with that being said, this will be having this man be a very dangerous, efficient, and deadly motherfucker to face. Leon S. Kennedy is really built different, to say the least. So when it comes down to his, you know, arsenal and what he does, he uses standard Desert Eagle that he's very proficient with and is always, you know, the greatest form of weaponry for him to use, as even when he is outclassed, outmuscled, even arguably outsped by Wesker, he's able to use this standard Desert Eagle, which is kind of funny to think about, against the greatest odds possible and still come out on top. And with this Desert Eagle, with its rounds being not normal rounds, able to pierce hides, that can scale to the small building level thing. Yes, a Desert Eagle can produce a small building arguable regiment of scale, which is kind of fucking crazy, I'm not gonna lie, but it's reasonable. With that being said, this would also give him credibility of, with this round, having the capability to cause them explosions a lot more easier, because these rounds are a lot more, you know, high velocity and also have a lot more capabilities of harm. There's also the record that, you know, he has different gadgetries and things that are very much player choice, depending on the case of the person, from bombs, different weaponry and things like that, which are going to go into, you know, the whole prep time and different versatility argument thing. But I'll simply say that his standard equipment is obviously his fist, a cool coming together combat vest that are able to take things that not normal compound together combat vest should be able to take. There's also the record of him obviously, you know, having rounds of multiple different types that can help him in battle. Now, when it comes down to, you know, his skill regimen and experience that I talked about before a little bit, he has been able to, you know, stand to Wesker, be able to stand to different other people of higher regiment things. Joe Valentine has also been considered to be a high skill person that he is more skilled than and stronger than, who's also able to do crazy things and is also a bullet timer, because Shawty dodges out of bullets that are arguably not even meant for her. And yeah, with that being said, that is, you know, the scaling of Leon Kennedy. Tom Fakayo Crane of Dying Light.
Crane? Hello, Crane, can you hear me? It's Camden.
Yeah, Doc, I hear you. What's going on?
The analysis just finished on the tissue samples. The results are, well, I don't think the word phenomenal is too strong. Crane, if you can recover Zara's data, I'm certain a cure is within reach.
All right. Hey, we'll talk about it next time I see you.
This is Io speaking. Get to the nearest safe house and wait until dawn. Good night, and good luck.
Kyle Crane, an ex-mercenary of the GRE, aka Global Relief Effort, the main protagonist of Dying Light 1, and in the intro showcase who he is, a man that was once a man just on a job, but now changed into a hero for the better means of stuff, and now fights for his home, the people that live in it, and fights to survive. He's a very elite level fighter, as he has great expertise in accounts being said to be a very proficient, suffice to say resilient fighter, who's able to outdo 3 to 4 armed men, cutting them down, cutting off the hand of Rise, and being able to outdo bullets and multiple different things with great athletics, adapted to any scenario, and has statements from the case of the bio of him, statements from people around, credit of how he stood and scaled to the case of someone like Jade Audemars, the Scorpion, who's a 3-time world kickboxing champion and is said to be the greatest female fighter in the world, one of the greatest fighters to ever live in this version of the world, and also cracking of the fact that he was able to defeat Zahir, aka whoever is the fucking, no, it's not even Zahir, it's Tahir, that's fucking one-off fucking goon of Rise, in the case of a one-on-one to being one on like 8 case individual people, was able to stand to multiple forms of Rise men and different gun shootouts, showcasing his mercenary ability of being able to adapt to situations that he might not be the most trained in on the same scale, even though because of the fact that there's different accounts from directors, producers, the Dying Light novel, talking about how Crane has been able to adapt to any scenarios that he's been put into. He's a survivor after all, record of possibly having training in the field involving weapons of all different types, regardless if it's guns, actual general record of weapons, or things along those lines. So yeah, pretty much that. When it comes down to his experience and skill, will put him on one of the most greatest forms of that regiment of great expertise and things along those lines. When it comes down to his speed and what he's been able to scale to involving speed, is being able to get out of the way of Demolisher, who's coming after you at seems like freaking 20 miles per hour. He's been able to stand to the case of different sentient volatiles, like seen in the case of zombies that run fast, standing against people and doing different things of that sort against people, even though they're not full actually sentient. Obviously there's life in them to an extent, but are just volatiles, aka being zombies that have decent record of speed, scaling, and different things like that, and are pretty much the running back killers of the affected, aka zombies. And because of the fact that they're able to dodge arrows, being able to be decent level bullet timers, and people that are able to stand to that, that would put Crane at the good consistency of subsonic to subsonic plus, aka faster than the eye can see, being able to dish out and or stand to blows, and speed and other capabilities of things that would basically make people seem semi-slow motion and basically dissolve them every way to fight, pretty much like how Jin Sakai does things in Tsushima. But when it comes down to the case of his AP, he's been able to go about consistently with wall level scaling, crack bones, cracking neck, being able to be one of the most agile and aggressive fighters, being able with weapons or not, even though weapons obviously had a little bit more, and I'll talk about his base equipment, and be able to crack bones, crack necks, and leave motherfuckers wasted, even decapitating, breaking limbs, cracking necks, being able to do a lot of different assortment of different things that would make him, again, one of the most dangerous foes to be fought within the verse. And because someone like Jade and other people that he's defeated or would upscale from has been able to do similar, that would just make the proof be more in his favor that he is indeed on those same levels. And yeah, that's pretty much Crane when it comes down to his wall level scaling. But when it comes down to what he's arguably been able to scale more, that will put him in higher forms of wall level or even small building, is scaling to a Demolisher. He's been hit by a Demolisher, and Demolishers are able to break open metal coated together doors, being able to crater in the floor, rip open the floor, to throw boulders, dish stone pillars, been able to break down different parts of walls and barriers and break through them. They shake the ground just by moving with their case of movement and or hitting force. They able to throw cars. They able to swap open, metal big crate contained doors, and even, throw your ass in a buggy. And they are said to be the physically most strongest zombie, and that would make them physically more stronger and opposing than even the case of the sluggers, then greater volatiles, nightmares and stuff. And depending on the case, Crane is able to take blows from them, fight them off. He's able to decently, even though it's with HRV light, fight off the hunter case zombie, who's a mixed bar scale to be, one of the strongest case of, nightmare people. And, even though he could never actually defeat her without becoming a full sentient volatile, Crane was able to push back and, survive a throw from the mother, aka the strongest nightmare or form of volatile in all of Haram, what is being said. So he's able to scale to the highest form of zombies in his verse and or defeat these people, or at least scale to them in some matter of attack. And this would put him at bare minimum small building count, but you could try to get him into small building plus. He wouldn't be the highest jewel small building plus. This would pretty much be the epitome that Crane could take blows akin to a higher altitude RPG. But in comparison to some other characters, if they were taking a whole full-blown fucking akin to atomic bomb in the face, they could not take the whole kablam of that shit, to say the least, in full. But Crane hypothetically could. He would still feel it a little bit, but it's pretty much retroactively being something pushing between the matter of over 100,000s of joules in comparison, to make clear in comparison as well. But when it comes down to the case of his equipment, Crane has a multi-record of arsenal. I'm going to be giving him arsenal that can be, equal and understandable, comparison to Leon. In this case, he's going to be having a simple pistol, just like the case of Leon. But this pistol being the case of a standard record of like Desert Eagle or handgun, just like Leon, with him having also for hand-to-hand combat, if it ever would get to that, having his iconic machete that he stole from the case of either Tahir or Zahir, however the hell you say his name, him having his grappling hook, batarang shield. He has the case of his HRV lights, bombs, grenades, and things like that he can bring, having all his move sets and skills to be shined. He has a case of, some smoke bombs, throwing daggers, things along those lines. He has multiple different type of form of melee combat weapons that can help him, brass knuckles, and, greater things that could be talked about in, prep time, to be fair. But Crane, in general form of, base equipment, can pretty much be a multi-consecutive person. But Crane has a lot of what he needs to go and kill someone and or best them in the greatest forms at already his disposal, as Crane is a living weapon. I'm talking whole Winter Soldier. Alright, you don't gotta worry about this brother too much when it comes down to all around forms of fighting out in the jungle of Haran, to say the least. But when it comes down to the actual fight at hand within a base scenario, right, it isn't obvious from the scaling provided with Leon Kennedy. He would be in a higher stand, a small building plus, and or just be way overarchingly stronger, experienced, and we'd have the skill and also speed scaling to also best him in almost every sense of the way. Because with this being said, Leon, with getting his skill, has known multiple way more versatile ways of fighting zombies, and as well has martial arts curriculum to be beyond Crane. From we know, he does not have any actual assertion of actual martial arts, experience. If I had to assert anything, it would be decent record of street fighting, which technically isn't a martial arts style. Credit of maybe having the case of some experience with, I don't know, fighting against, people similar of his size and weight, giving him maybe some credit of some like MMA or even, boxing experience. Maybe get some like kickboxing in there that can be of, again, mixed martial arts, aka MMA, but not on the same scale as Leon, who could literally, if he wanted to, pull that iconic meme of he's going to suplex someone into next week. So that right there would just make him way beyond Crane. There's the case for him being beyond his speed, as you know, he scales to Wesker, different people that could scale to bullet timers. You know, he's said to be greater than Jill. He scales to Chris, who are, you know, both bullet timers. So yeah, like, it's simple. He would just get negged by almost all those things, and Crane would be pretty much out of luck. When it comes down to prep time, even with the case of, you know, the speed difference and the case of, obviously, you know, a little bit more distinctly into small building level, right? Plus, in comparison, the sense of like prep time will be more interesting case of, you know, hypotheticals, as Crane has a like freaking akin to a shockwave, but it's more like a push away gun that he gets from crafting together a entire gun from the case of scatter parts of a meteorite, which hypothetically is like a form of different data on where the Haran virus came from. Yes, hypothetically, the Haran virus in Dying Light came from space. We're not going to get into much of that because Dying Light 2 fucking garbage. Would not actually go ahead and provide a bigger case of thought process about that. But besides that, this form of, you know, tectonic bust away gun that's a form of like shockwave gun would maybe be useful to either like disorientate or make space for this man Crane, but he would not actually be able to do that much with it. Obviously, Crane could get more guns and assets and bombs, the better case of weapons, but because of the fact that this stuff would not do anything to Leon, because he's either faced it before, he could outskill it, outspeed it, it wouldn't do that much for Crane, and all around, our vigilante of Iran would not be able to do that much except for kind of just trying to prolong his death. And so if we give him, Leon, prep time of different weapons, rounds, bombs, and other things like that, it would just kind of be a very bad experience for him, to say the least. Then you have the case of, you know, the hypothetical of what if Crane was a sentient volatile, aka taking his scaling of scaling to the mother. Because of him being a sentient volatile and scaling to the case of the strongest of them, or arguably Nightmare in comparison, right, and being able to have a whole fist to claw fight with the mother and best her in hand-to-hand combat, this would put him on, again, a little bit more consistently on the record of small building, depending how you perceive it, on a greater form deal. But it's in the sense that, again, like with Leon and coming to a small building like calc and being small building plus with scaling to, you know, these people on a more relative record in hand, that would get him to maybe be at a better form level, the same stand against Leon, depending on how you take that statement at face value, especially because even though the Demolisher is the strongest zombie, the Nightmares are considered to be the ultimate biohazard type of thing. But it's obvious from the scaling and the fact that Leon is from Resident Evil, he faces all type of bio creatures, and even if sometimes he is not actually stronger than these people, there is no zombie in Dying Light that has the scaling consistently and applicably exactly on the same scale as a Nemesis, a Mr. X, a boulder destroying motherfucker, a person that's able to collapse and encapsulate things on a level beyond compare. A person who simply just should be way more prone to the idea of scaling beyond the compare of general people to the best degree that you possibly could think. So, in turn, even with all the possible talks of scaling, this and this and this, that would literally just give more favor to Leon, as everybody that I mentioned in some way scales more consistently and applicably and knows, but some of these people that Leon has been able to get out of dodge with or half case take a little bit of a blow from can expand more on these different scalings from your having the hacks or just simply environmentally are more of a devastating creature to face. While Crane most time has to run away from these creatures, or he has to use some form of prep time or the scenario to beat them, as like with the Demolisher, that was a Rhino for a Spider-Man scenario. And there's a mixed battle argument with this example that if Rhino was not, you know, over here having a kind of chase after Peter in different mixes of their interactions, you know what I'm saying, right? Depending on the fight, that would give Rhino the instant win, as is shown in Spider-Man Miles Morales in comparison with an example that indicates an interaction between them, right? That in those interactions, this man Rhino is way physically and overarchingly powerful than Spider-Man. So if him and Spider-Man, and in this case, Crane and anyone else, interactions, right, and integrations of, all type of prep time or general base physicals, there will be a clear defining winner. Unlike with Leon, where there's a mixed ball argument where he could at least to some degree scale decently to him without getting entirely foddered. While Crane, it's not looking too good for him, no offense. And with my example of Spider-Man, this man Rhino has shown that if they were in, like, I don't know, an entirely indestructible room, that yeah, Rhino's gonna get the dub depending on the case most of the time. It doesn't take away, how strong these people are. I'm just kind of trying to make a comparison, like I said, again, with the interactions, the scaling and integrations, of all these different scales, talks, and things, why one stands out way more than the other, what is being said. So, even as a sentient volatile, I think Leon would defeat him, and he doesn't need whatever prep time you would give him, either from his world, of his obviously knowledge and disposal possibilities, or even from Haran, and Dying Light's greater versatile capabilities to deal with nightmares, to actually be a difference. Because he would just be able to outscale him, speed blitz him, mix bar, and would just get around him. I could see Leon legit cracking Crane's neck as a sentient volatile. Now, the final verdict of this is, what if the speed and mix bar, every credibility of possible comparison scale was equal, aka equal stats? In this fight, I still see Leon winning. Simply put, Leon has better skill. He has better experience. He's more roundabout with his capabilities. And all around would just outdo Kyle Crane most of the time. I see Crane and Leon having an interesting case of battle, with this being said. And, I definitely think their conversation would be interesting. And I can see them both being more or less allies than actual enemies. But I just feel like this battle is not fair in any sense of the way. And as you see with the case of the title, with this being said, this is definitely not a close fight at all. From the speed scaling, from the case of experience, from all the accolades, all the statements, there is not a single person in Dying Light that is on the same level as Wesker, Jack Cruiser, Nemesis, Mr. X, or any person on the same level that should be able to scale, and none of the people are on the same speed scaling as such a comparison. So, yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes down to this battle. I know this is a little bit of a kind of longer one. With this being said, I haven't made a long form like versus battle like this in a minute, right? I hope you guys have enjoyed it regardless. It's a bigger one I had passion about. It took a lot of research, took a lot of different talk and debate with myself about, how I see things going, and just breaking it down and fully, unraveling the power scaling that comes from Resident Evil and the skills of Leon Kennedy, what is being said. And yeah, like it's gonna be put, just not a good fight. Alright, listen, Crane can drop kick people, but he's never suplexed somebody through a floor. Alright, so I don't want to hear it. Alright, it's that simple. With that being said, though, again, I hope you guys have enjoyed. I appreciate the watch. I know it's a very long video, but if you got to the end of this video, I do appreciate it. And yeah, even though it's been a minute since me making a long video like this, I really do appreciate you guys, peeking in and all that. And yeah, I love y'all. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace out, Army. Love y'all.